Welcome to Ciao Bella, Living Italian Style. I'm your host and executive producer, Barbara Ann Zippi, and today we're going to talk about my adventures in Abruzzo. If you've been listening to some of the prior episodes, filmed here at Radnor Studios 21 in the main line area outside of Greater Philadelphia. So it's an exciting time to be able to have the opportunity to bring you pictures and some video today of an olive farm in Abruzzo that I had the opportunity to follow through the seasons. I started in the winter of January 23, my first visit. Then I went back in June to see what it looked like in the beginning of the spring or the end of the spring, and then wrapped it up in the October harvest season in the fields and at the mill. So I have to tell you though, we went to one farm throughout the whole time, but my misconceptions about olive oil. I really thought I knew olive oil. And my uncles would send olive oil over seasonally from Italy, and the one uncle that got it here would break it into smaller bottles and give some to my mother, and she would share it with me. And so we knew what real olive oil was and extra virgin olive oil, and we went and bought that in the supermarket. Not until I got educated by Pierluigi Pace, who's the owner of this olive farm in Loreto Apertino, did I realize and start to look at the labels in the back of the olive oil bottles on your supermarket shelves, wherever you shop here in the United States. And I found that the olives in that bottle of oil are from various olive farms all over the world. Tunisia, Greece, Spain, Italy, combination of. And of course, they're certainly valid and good. However, when that process happens and they ship those olives, they could be sitting for days. With the difference in following Pierluigi Pace's olive tree farm all the way to the mill is that they're harvesting their olives within 24 hours of picking them, if not sooner, and they're not combined with any other olives. And so when you're buying olive oil from Italy, like a Pierluigi's olive oil, although you don't know because not everybody's importing their olive oil to the United States. They do send it all over the world, but we're not usually, you have to go to a specialty store like Carlino's in Ardmore or Westchester to find somebody that has olive oil in their shelves from Italy with one region of olives. So anyway, we're going to be talking about Pierluigi today, and I met him, if we could start the slides going, I met him on New Year's Eve dinner in 23. I was invited. You're going to see my cousins, the Nobilio sisters, cooking a New Year's Eve celebration and a dinner. And it started with the fish that in this little kitchen, it's amazing the feast that we turned out. And two nice big pieces of fish was one of the dishes for that evening. And nice sizes. This is my cousin Rita Nobilio, and she is an architect by trade. However, she is fantastic with cooking and desserts from a family business that they had as a bakery and a restaurant. That was the finished product of the fish with the potatoes in the dish. Then they had appetizers. This is white bread. You could see the in the back. There's the plastic that was around it, but you buy the bread already with the crust off. And then in the next picture, they were putting salmon, and we would normally put cream cheese on that bread, and then the salmon on top with capers and onions. However, if you see on the left, they're doing it with butter. So they're spreading butter on the bread with the salmon and a little slice, the next picture will show a little slice of lemon, so ever so thin. I don't know how my cousin Simona cuts lemons as thin as she does, but she does. So that was the butter version, and by the time I left, I let them try it my way with the cream cheese. Here, of course, something, and this is Prosecco, local Prosecco, something's always on the table for wine. And then this is Carla, my other cousin Nobilio, and her husband Mato, and he was doing the specialty for the spaghetti and clams. Everybody takes their turn in this little kitchen making the dishes, but they have the tiniest little shells of clams from the Adriatic Sea with a little bit of olive oil in that pan. It makes the most dynamic sauce. So Mato was cooking up his specialty. Another one is the shrimp, where most of the time you buy the shrimp as it is there with the heads on it, and you have to start working your dish from there. So we had a feast that night, which is the night, oh, here's Carla taking a picture of her producing her shrimp dish. Again, all three sisters grew up in a bakery and a restaurant in the town. That's the clams before we devoured them. And at this dinner table that's a shrimp dish. It's when I got to meet Pierluigi and his wife Gianna from Bertoli Olive Oil. I didn't know who I was going to be having dinner with that night, but it was a pleasant surprise. This was fireworks, New Year's Eve dinner at midnight on the balcony of the house where I stayed, and the beautiful fireworks from the balcony. This panettone, unless you're going to Carlino's in Westchester or Ardmore, you usually only find 2 varieties in the supermarket, but in Italy there are hundreds of varieties. This is one of them, pistachio. And look at how beautiful it comes packaged. And I just saw that for the first time in Carlino's. Now this was pistachio cream inside the panettone that Rita's putting on the slice before you get it. I think dinner was at least 4 hours, but it was wonderful. There's the pistachio spread for the top of your panettone. Okay, so Pierluigi is the guy, on the left you see Mato and Pierluigi, and then on the right you see Simona and Pierluigi's wife, Gianna, is on the right-hand side at the back. So if you continue it on, so I asked Pierluigi if I could visit his farm in the wintertime, and since I was going to be going back, could I follow it through the seasons? Now this is the winter season. We'll advance these pictures. And this was one of the oldest trees on the property, which is over 400 years old. And there's some older than that. These are the roots of some of the old trees. Everything gets recycled. They go back into the ground as fertilizer. Nothing gets thrown away. Also, in the wintertime, they let the grass grow as much as they can. That's Simona on the right in the field with Pierluigi. That is a field of sage that is absolutely amazing how wild it grows. But that's the hillside in the winter of the farm. And now, we always have a break, okay? So this was one of the evenings in the winter, and Carla was making her famous focaccia bread. Her father and grandfather Zopito Nobilio and her father Remo Nobilio had a bakery in the town, and this is the focaccia bread. And then Mauro, her husband, is cooking the sausage in the fireplace at the in the house. So it's a very interesting place to experience the winter. Now here's the bread, the focaccia bread that they use for risotto or whatever meat that you want to put in that sandwich, and it's delicious. And this is Kevin Camila's boyfriend, the daughter of Carla and Mato, but I don't think I have a picture of her. And this is how they use the bread. You put your sausage in between the bread or your pieces of prosciutto. They had a cold cauliflower salad, and that was dinner, and that was just great. So we're always looking for new things to do, but simple is always the best. Now here's the field again in the winter, and you could see the brush, but look in the back and you could see the vista. These fields have about 500 or more olive trees that they cultivate, and it's one olive farm connected to another. Here's Pierluigi at one of the olive trees in the winter. You're going to see how small in the next picture the olives are in the winter. They're teeny, teeny, tiny, and then they burst into flowers. And but these trees and this ground here, there's remnants from the times of the Romans actually using these fields for their olive trees. And you could see how teeny tiny these buds are. They were even tinier. It was just amazing to think these are hundreds and hundreds of years old, where the Romans, had their farms. It was amazing. So one of these future adventures over there, if we could go continue, Pierluigi, I told him I want to go see some of those Roman ruins in his olive field. Now this, you have to hear the sound of these turkeys. This is part of his farm, and they don't grow turkeys like we do for Thanksgiving. They grow turkeys to use year-round and eat year-round. Here you could see the dirt fields of the farm. This is their farm property. They live in the village of Loreto. But you'll see chickens here and turkeys here and all sorts of animals. This is a well, still a working well on the property, but again, a water well, again, going back centuries. You could see how far back the fields go with the other neighboring olive farms. This Loreto, this is looking down into the well, and the next picture will show you as the olives are growing bigger on the trees. It was just magical to walk. Now, this is the harvest season in October. What you just saw were those trees in the spring. And in the background, you see those two houses that belong to another estate of farmers. One of the house on the left is made of dirt. And in that area are where they found ruins of buildings from the Roman Empire when they were harvesting those fields of olives. The olive varieties in Loreto Abruzino, they have 5 varieties, 3 of which are only grown in 2 towns in Loreto, and 2 varieties are only grown in these 2 towns in all of the world of olives, and Pierluigi's farm is one of them. I want to go back to that other picture because this is the second process of getting the olives down from the trees, where the guys are going in with their gas-powered shakers by hand. Now the next picture shows you the claw on the machine. This claw attaches to the trunk of the tree and vibrates. It shakes it down into the green netting that you saw. Then we have the numbers on the sides of these crates as the olives are collected off of the green netting. They're put into these crates to be sifted so that the leaves separate from the olives. That gray crate has a number on it, and that's the farmer countryman's number for when it goes to the mill to process. Now, Gianna might be sitting beautifully dressed at the dinner table for New Year's Eve, but everybody's hands and labor go into harvest season. Now on the right-hand side, Simona even is getting into separating the leaves from the olives. The leaves go back on the ground to be used as fertilizer. Nothing gets thrown away. And then as the video progresses, I think you might even be able to hear them speak a little Italian. So no matter what process it is, it's still a lot of manual labor. Now years ago, the women used to go up a ladder with an apron on and collect the olives in their aprons. I'm talking about the early 1900s. This is one of the countrymen with his truck bringing his crates filled with olives. A little white marker on there is his number that gets assigned through the milling process. And if we keep moving along, this is the dirt road that you have to ride down to. Now, we were riding up to go home, but I wanted to show you, because I didn't think I had the courage to take the video on the way down. I was in the passenger seat. On the left-hand side of the road, there is no road barrier. And all of these are the olive trees that grow on the hillside. So everything you're doing to get to the farmland and to get your tractors, and there you see an old ape that they still use all the time. It's just a dirt road on the side of the mountain. Actually, it's not a road because it's a private driveway, but the vista on the left is just magnificent. I have to say, visiting an olive farm, I never thought that I would have this opportunity, and Gianna and Pierluigi were just wonderful in letting us do this. This with the clouds in the skies. You're riding in the foreground is the Gran Sasso mountain range, and over that mountain range is the Adriatic seacoast, not far. So Simona was brave in driving us to the countryside. Yes, and now you're going to see that you get into a little bit more, it's easier. And we're back on, if you want to call it a main road, can you say it's a main road? I don't know, but you can see it is kind of a main road because they have road barriers on the left. This is the top of the intersection to go to the main road. This is the top of, this is the consortium, the olive mill. It's a consortium of countrymen. They built this place in the 60s. They put solar power on the roof, solar panels, so that since it's only used 6 weeks of the year for olive production, they sell their energy back to pay for the expenses. This is the scale that the truck drives on to weigh the inventory, to know how much the farmer gets back from his production of his olives in oil. And if you look ahead into the right-hand side, you'll see gray crates and orange crates. They are all filled to the brim with olives, just delivered within hours to get inside that mill. Here is, after it gets grinded, the olive oil is coming out of that silver tube in the middle, and they're putting it into these big containers. And the farmer brings whatever containers he wants. They also have, those are the big ones, but they also have a room, here you go, where they're bottling it by the cans and the bottles that you kind of see in front of me. here today on the desk, they fill these up there for whatever the farmer brings them. And in the back, in the blue equipment, you're going to see a little bit of a close-up. It's a little noisy in there. However, they used to do this with walking around with donkeys around the barrels to grind the stones. But if you look where we're getting a close-up, those tubes, the ground olives are going in there as the machine separates them from the pit. There's 3 domes that you could see, but I believe there's 5 total over there. And each dome is a different farmer's production of olives. So from the crate, they get assigned to one of those domes, and whatever comes out of that dome is that farmer's olive oil. And so they could do up to 5 different countrymen's processing of olive oil at a time. I mean, it's a big season in the fall. If you ever have the opportunity to go, the end of September, beginning of October, into the maybe stretching into a little bit of November, it's an unbelievable time of the year to see this. And I remember going in to see the old-fashioned way that they processed oil 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I first went to the town. So this is amazing. Now you can see the tractor with the olives from the farmer on the scale. I'm the one with the camera, so you don't see me. Now this is a pile of the pits that are ground up from the olives when they're separated for the oil. They take that and they bring that back to their farm to fertilize their gardens and their farms. So every step of the way, there is no waste at all. You could go to the next one in producing these this wonderful liquid gold that comes out of these olives. It's amazing. Here's Pierluigi out of the field with his wife Gianna, and she is great. They go to trade shows all over Europe. They haven't started importing their olive oil to the United States, but they certainly have a website that you could go to. In the little town of Loreto Apertino, up on the left, where there's a castle, that's a hotel, Pierluigi's tasting room that you're going to see next, this is in this little town. This is the tasting room in the historical medieval section of Loreto Apertino. And most people don't get the opportunity to go into the fields. So you go here, and Pierluigi has an olive oil tasting here where you can learn how to actually taste the olive oil, to sip it, to taste it on a piece of bread, and to see the difference for yourself. I think that's the last slide. So in doing that, what I wanted to show you is that if you could see the color of that, I brought a clear glass, but that's the liquid from the olive oil of Pierluigi, and that's Pertoli. Now, if you want more information on that, go to the ItalianAmericanHerald.com website. I shouldn't be looking up. I should be looking at the camera. Go into this website. In the January 24 issue, there is a photo array of the olive oil farm. And in the December 23rd issue, there's a story on Pierluigi and his olive oil my journey from his olives to the olive oil. So go in there and you can see that to read up on it too. In the meantime, Pierluigi in his town in Loreto advertises, oh, there's my glass of the olive oil that you can see. See how beautiful that is? Oh my goodness. Actually, in some of them, when you're at the mill, it comes out green. But they do call this liquid gold. And there's nothing comparable to it. So, I was telling you about Pierluigi advertising in John Luca Buccelli's newspaper, La Cerba. This is online. Anybody can read it. It's also on Facebook. And it gives you news on the Abruzzo region, just like our Italian newspaper gives you news on Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware region. So if you see my Ciao Bella Living Italian Style t-shirt, when I was in Italy, I saw Baldo's. Is it out? Baldo's promotion. Asked John Luca to take me down there because they had t-shirts and grocery type bags that they were making in Italy. And I thought, I want to give it a try. So, for our listeners out there, because we want to bring you news from Italy that you're going to enjoy, stories from different towns. We'd like to hear where your family's from. So, if you send a comment or a note to Ciao Bella Living Italian Style at gmail.com and tell us that you saw us on Ciao Bella Living Italian Style on YouTube or Radner21, you will get one of these grocery bags, Ciao Bella Living Italian Style, free. We'll send it to you in the mail. I'm excited and it was made in Italy. I'm excited to have found a supplier in Italy. I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to bring you these adventures in Abruzzo. And I wouldn't be able to do that without the enthusiasm of the general manager from Radner21, Kevin. He has been great. Look up our other shows. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. Until we meet again, I'm Barbara Ann Zippi, and this is Ciao Bella Living Italian Style.